Welcome back to Wrestling with Power. Mr. Mosley here, joined as always by the incomparable Slick Vic over there. It is Tuesday, February the 24th, 2026. Tonight, we're doing our 29th episode, and we are going to be talking about all the stuff we normally talk about, the SmackDown review, the Raw review. But, being that Elimination Chamber is only a mere 4 days away from now, we're going to be looking at, of course, Slick Vic's picks for Elimination Chamber. He's got them all locked in. Well, pretty much locked in from what he's told me. And we're also going to be talking about a retro review portion, the Elimination Chamber Origins. Now, in previous episodes when we've done a retro review, it's often been an entire pay-per-view. Where it had something like Survivor Series is coming up. All right, well, let's talk about Survivor Series from 20 years ago. But with Elimination Chamber, it's a little bit different because that hasn't always been the pay-per-view preceding WrestleMania. Before that, it was No Way Out. And before that, it was just, I don't even know, like they didn't even have as many pay-per-views throughout the years they normally do. But anyway, since the Elimination Chamber was created and got popular and they decided to name the pay-per-view after it and have it an annual thing, it's been that way for several years, so we thought it would be appropriate to take a look back at the first Elimination Chamber match, which actually took place at Survivor Series in 2002. We're going to be talking about that. We're going to be giving you a bunch of information on the Chamber and those early days and how it got started and everything leading up to it. But first, Slick Vic, how are you doing today, sir?
Well, I'm just peachy as I normally am. Rather burning up with excitement for various reasons. But yeah.
Yeah.
How are you?
Well, I'm doing pretty well. I'm actually kind of warm myself. I'm starting to get a little bit warmer. The swish is working its way down and up and down and up. So,
you know what they say about swish? It's can barely get her into you. But my fuck, does it ever get you some drunk?
Yeah. It's got little particles and bits of shit floating around in the top. But Slick Vic, I think it's hard if you're a viewer of this episode and this show, it's hard to not notice that beautiful shirt that you have on, the Umbrella Corporation, the Umbrella logo there. And that's another thing that we're going to be talking about tonight, is one of mine and Slick Vic's favorite video game series of all time, as we usually do. And why don't we go ahead and do that? Why don't we just kick off the show talking about this and talk about why we're going to be talking about this when we look at Slick Vic's Gimmick.
I got two. Technically, both these things are going to come into play today. All right, so what I've got today. Stars. Now, you remember which character in Resident Evil 2 you start with that has the lighter?
Leon.
Yeah, thing works. This thing does work.
So that is for all the people just listening and not watching. He has a blue Zippo with the Stars emblem engraved on the front of it. And it does work. He lit it up. He found the lighter fuel and combined the two items together, and now he's ready to go.
I'm ready to take on some Crimson Heads.
There you go. Well, you need the kerosene as well. You need to get a canteen.
That's right, yeah.
That's what you need, Vic, is a canteen. Look, where did you get that beautiful item that you have there?
Well, this was a gift from the missus. From Mrs. Slick Vic. She got this on Etsy. It was a Valentine's Day gift. So, as I mentioned, cool. it was I was burning up today. Do you know how to do any tricks like with Zippo lighters? Do you see people like flip them around and stuff and light them? Damn.
No, I've never been that cool. I've never been that cool. I got, it's been years ago, Vic, but I got an official Zippo. And I had this thing that I wanted to do. See, growing up, my dad was a smoker. He's still a smoker, but he always had a Zippo lighter. Always. And he had like the bronze gold colored Zippo with the gold insert, right? The bronzish gold colored insert. So I got curious one time. I get in these spells where I want to buy something. And I went on the Zippo website and I wanted a black Zippo, a matte black Zippo with a gold insert. I thought that would just look awesome. You can't get that. You can only get the black Zippo with the silver colored insert. So what I had to do was get the black Zippo and buy a completely different insert to go into it, and it ended up being what they call a pipe lighter. So like instead of the little bitty holes in the flame part of the Zippo, there's these big giant circular holes because you're supposed to turn it sideways and light your pipe that way. And but anyway, it still looked pretty cool. But yeah, that's my experience with the Zippo. I never had one as cool as the Star Zippo that you have there.
See, I'm not a smoker, but I'm kind of thinking of getting some more of these things, because you look online, you can find one with almost any different types of logo you want. There was one with the umbrella logo. There's one with Foxhound if you're into Metal Gear Solid, or Fox, or Diamond Dogs. So they're out there.
Yeah, there's all kinds of variety. I know that several gas stations that I have by me sell official Zippos, and they're in sort of like a little display case thing that look like they spin around. But yeah, very cool. I'm a big fan. Very nice gift there, Slick Vic. And speaking of that, we're on the topic of Resident Evil. He's got the Resident Evil lighter. He's got his lighter fuel. He's ready to go. Vic, I'm sure that we've talked about it before. We'll talk about it in the future. And why don't we? But I'm just curious. Before we move on to some wrestling, if we could, what is your favorite Resident Evil game?
I always go back to Resident Evil 2. That was my first. I played that on I'm talking about the PS1 version. I remember it was, I'm like 7th grade in school, and we were all talking about it like, you guys got to play this game. It's the scariest game you've ever played in your life. And it's I remember getting a friend loaning me a copy of his, and I played it. It scared the hell out of me, of course. But I had a lot of fun. I couldn't put it down. I did not beat it. This is a game I did not beat until probably a year or two later with the help of a strategy guide. Now I can play the game front and backwards, easy, nothing, no problem.
Yeah.
But back then I needed a strategy guide. I was no good, but I loved it. What about you? What's your favorite Resident Evil game?
Kind of like you, I did start with 2. That was the first one. That's not the first one I remember, because oddly enough, I have this weird memory when I was a kid of one of my cousins bringing their PlayStation over to my house. They had it set up in my sister's room, and I remember seeing that intro to Resident Evil 1 with the guy running down the hallway and the blood splatter and all that. That's really probably my earliest memory of Resident Evil, but like to have actually played a game, it was Resident Evil 2, 5th grade, or 5th or 6th grade maybe. Like you, a friend loaned it to me, and I took it home and played it, and the friend was a very giving type of person. He ended up giving me the game, and then he had these Resident Evil 2 figures, and he gave me those too, and I was like, okay, yeah, sure. I still have them. But yeah, it's a toss-up between... I have a lot of favorites. I could easily list a top 5, and any one of those top 5 could be number 1 for me at any time. But I keep going back to the original Resident Evil 2. Like you, I think it's timeless. I think it's just an incredible, incredible game. Tons of replay value. And the remake of Resident Evil 1, which in my opinion, like I say, 2 is fantastic and all due in respects to 2. But I think that the remake of Resident Evil 1 is not only the best Resident Evil game, the best representation of what Resident Evil should be, it's the best remake of any remake I've ever played, of any video game. So,
very good game. I do remember playing that game when it came out. That was actually my introduction to Resident Evil 1. I had not gone back and played the PS1 version of Resident Evil 1 until probably, late 2000s maybe.
Yeah.
I think, I remember now. They released it on the DS? They had Deadly Silence.
Yes, Deadly Silence, which is a great version of that game.
Yeah,
great version.
That was how I played Resident Evil 1 for the first time.
Wow, okay.
That must have been, the late 2000s?
I want to say that game came out in like 2004, 2005, maybe.
Okay, yeah, that sounds about right.
You could probably look that up. But yeah, Deadly Silence was a great version of Resident Evil 1. They had the... it's a 2006. Came out in 2006. Okay. So, but yeah, it had, the original... You could play the original mode. The graphics obviously were probably not as good if you blew them up, but on the small screen they look so much better. But the DS, and then you had the map up top.
Yeah.
But it also added the rebirth mode, which would go into first person, and you would have to knife stuff in certain areas, which was cool. The puzzles where you would have to do the touchscreen stuff was really cool. And it had a multiplayer mode. I don't know if you ever tried that. It had a multiplayer mode that was fantastic. I had a buddy and me. Yeah, I had a buddy and we would play. You could play as like Richard. You could play as Kenneth. You could play as all these different characters, and you just run through. It was sort of like a mercenaries mode, but co-op. Really good stuff. Really good stuff. Actually, I modded my Wii U, and I have Resident Evil DS on my Wii U, so I can play it. Like the DS games on there. Love that shit. Real good. But, like I said, remake outdid it. I mean, there's people who will argue nostalgia, but that's about all you can argue for that first Resident Evil game is nostalgia. The remake was better in every single way than the original Resident Evil, for sure.
The one thing the remake was missing was a Jill sandwich.
Yeah. There's a quote in there that... It's not a Jill sandwich quote, is it? It's something similar to it, though.
In the remake?
Yeah, I think so.
I don't recall, but I remember. Well, I remember some of the cheesy dialogue in that first game was jarring the first time I played it. I'm like, wait, what? Like they went because Resident Evil 2, the voice acting improved a lot by the time Part 2 came around. I mean, it's not what we have today, but it was still, better than the first one with the whole, what is this?
Yeah.
Every 5 minutes, Barry's like, what is this? I hope it's blood. Not Chris's blood. Yeah.
Yeah, that I read that. Well, first of all, the actors that they had to play those parts and those voice overs and stuff were not necessarily like super pro level or anything, but I read that it was specifically requested for them to say those lines that way because the game was initially a Japanese game and they're speaking in English, so they wanted the Japanese players who don't understand English and maybe want to try to make out the words easier. That's why they sound so cheesy to us, but to them it would have been more like, I guess, enunciated or whatever.
I see.
That's what I read.
Yeah. I do know that the live action actors have all pretty much been found and do like the con circuit together now.
Yeah, I think except for Jill.
Yeah.
I think Jill was found, but she didn't want to be found. So they just left her alone.
Right. But everyone else, they even made like a short film with the Chris actor, and I think maybe even some of the other people. Like they did an adaptation of that Itchy Tasty.
Yeah.
Of that Itchy Tasty journal entry.
I did. I seen that. Yeah, that was really cool.
Now, are you excited for Resident Evil Requiem? Because what do you say? 4 days now, we got a new Resident Evil game.
It's right around the corner. Actually, Requiem comes out, if I'm not mistaken, the 27th, doesn't it?
Maybe at a certain time.
Let me see. Well, RE9. So RE9 upcoming, February 27th. So that will be out a day before the Elimination Chamber.
What's interesting was that both of us like Resident Evil 2 the best, and here we are with Leon Kennedy making a return, and we're going back to the RPD.
Yeah.
And I'm like, shut up and take my money. I'm in.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I'm into it. I'll be honest with you. I've not really spoiled much. I've watched the trailers and things. I never played the Outbreak games, so I wasn't very familiar with the Ashcroft lady.
Same.
But I kind of learned about it just by looking up stuff and reading who she was, and that she was a character in that game. I'm sure it'll be elaborated on in this one. But yeah, I'm always excited to play a new Resident Evil. So I'm pumped about it. I just hope that, because I saw a lot of action sequences when it came to Leon, which is to be expected, but it part of it, I'll be honest with you, part of it kind of reminded me of Resident Evil 6. And I did not like Resident Evil 6 at all.
Me neither.
So
that is the only one I've never finished.
I'm hoping that it doesn't turn out that way. Resident Evil 6 was a fun game to play when it first came out. It was kind of fun, especially like when you got to the mercenaries mode and you could just run around. And once you got good with the controls, you just run around killing stuff, and it was fun. But all in all, that game was thumbs down.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm excited. I'm excited to see what this story has. I've not spoiled anything. I've not looked up any leaks or anything like that. So
yeah, I hear they're going around too, and I've managed to avoid them.
I'll tell you what I'll probably do. I've been thinking about it because, see, they're bringing this game out on the Switch too, and I really want to have it on the Switch too, just so I can have, the Resident Evil on there. But I also intend on buying 7 and 8 again when they get put on the Switch too. I think the same day it comes out.
Okay.
But obviously, first things first, I'm going to get this on the PS5. I might actually stream it when I get it. So anybody out there that wants to watch me stream this game, you can hop on over to Twitch, twitch.tv/MosleyPHG. Yeah, I had to think about it because I've not been streaming in a long time, so twitch.com/MosleyPHG. That's where I do my streaming at. So may do a little streaming on there. May talk to Slick Vic. Well, probably not, because Slick Vic hates spoilers, so he won't be watching me. So
I might just pop in and just be like, "Hey, what's going on?" and bye.
Yeah, it's like you pop in right at the time where some giant spoiler's going on, and you're like, "All right, I gotta go. See ya."
I do know this. So. In Resident Evil 7, there is like a letter or something that does reference the Ashcroft family, or it's written by, I think, Grace's mother. I found out about that not too long ago. I think I know what you're talking about. Yeah, it was like a news article or something that she had written. Yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah. By the way, Resident Evil 7, terrifying game in my opinion.
I love 7.
Yeah, me too. And
there's a lot of people that didn't like it, where it was strictly like first person and all that stuff. I loved it. I thought it was great.
I thought it was very effective in terms of the horror. The Baker family is terrifying. The ammo is scarce. So the first time you go into the basement having to fight the molded, fuck.
Yeah, that was bad. But see, and I've made the statement before, and people like kind of turn their nose up at me when I say it, but I think that Resident Evil 7 was the most Resident Evil game since the first one. And I don't think that that's anything. You don't have to like it, but learn to love it. It's the best thing going today. It's true.
That's a hot take. That's definitely a hot take.
Yep.
I mean, in terms of scare factor, Resident Evil 7 I think is the scariest of them all. But other than Chris showing up at the end, you didn't even have to call it Resident Evil in my opinion.
I get that. I also don't think that it has to have those core characters to be Resident Evil. Because at a certain point, you got to develop new characters. And that's one of the things that honestly I've sort of been critical about, like Resident Evil 9, right? You're playing as, what's the new girl's name?
Grace Ashcroft?
Grace. You're playing as Grace. In the first trailers we got, obviously they weren't going to reveal Leon. They wanted that to be a surprise. But you're playing as Grace, and it's like, okay, I'm kind of into this. This is cool. And then it's like they have to tag Leon in there. And I love Leon, don't get me wrong. But it's just like they have to tag Leon in there just so that there's some tie back to the OGs. And I'm like, you gotta let it breathe on its own a little bit sometimes. If you are gonna bring back some oldies, and again, I love Leon, I love RE2, I love RE4, big fan of Leon. But where the hell is Billy Cohen? All right, where's Rebecca been? That's who we want back. Give us those people back.
Well, since we're getting Leon back in 9, every time Leon's been in a game, you know who's also been in a game?
Yeah.
And do you think she'll be making an appearance?
Maybe. Hard to say. I don't know. Good possibility, but I think that there's definitely some secrets that they're still keeping that they're not going to reveal. So we'll have to see how it goes. Anyway, I'm excited for it. Yeah. So big week for us here at Wrestling with Power. And again, probably going to be streaming that game. So Vic will be avoiding me this weekend. So join in so I can have some company playing this.
All right.
Well, Slick Vic, what do you say we talk about some wrestling?
Oh, do we have to?
I mean, we don't have to.
I guess we should. I mean, after all.
This is our show. We can do whatever we want.
All right. Well, shall I begin with SmackDown?
Yeah, let's talk some SmackDown. We'll start with the SmackDown review. Slick Vic, if you would, please.
SmackDown came at you on February 20th from Fort Lauderdale, Florida. Cody opens the show asking the crowd, what do you want to talk about? And gets immediately interrupted by Jacob Fatu. He's mad about losing last week, but he wants to dog walk Drew McIntyre's ass. And then Nick Aldis says Drew has the night off and tells Fatu to leave. Drew McIntyre is actually here, though. He's in a suite. He tells Jacob, all gas, no brakes, more like all bark and no bite. And Jacob leaves the ring and goes after Drew, but Aldis stops him. Drew tells Cody the whole world is against him because he's the champion. Cody says, no, the whole world is against him because he's an asshole. All right, backstage, Ilya Dragunov pumps Carmelo Hayes up with intense energy. And then Nick Aldis asks Jacob to leave, which he does. And then we got our first match. We got Ilya Dragunov versus Tama Tonga. Yeah. First off, they have a pretty fun fade in from the WWE 2K game. I don't know if you caught that, where they're showing the 2K entrance of Ilya, and then he's pointing at the camera, and then it fades to the actual Ilya doing the same taunt.
Yeah, but you know what I thought when I saw that?
It doesn't look like Ilya.
It didn't look like him at all.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing.
I was like, man, they did a shitty job on him in that game.
It still was a pretty cool fade effect.
It was cool, yeah. It was cool.
All right, Ilya starts with chops. Tama comes back with strikes. And we go to break, and we come back, and they trade more strikes, clothesline each other. Ilya hits 2 German back-to-back suplexes that take forever, by the way. He was selling a lot about it, Tama counters the third one, but eats a Constantine special and hits the high senton. The MFT gets involved, distracting Ilya, who gets hit with the cutthroat for the win. Post-match, Solo grabs a mic and talks trash. Ilya gets up and tries to fight them off, but Matt Cardona and Apollo Crews come out to assist, but to no avail. The babyfaces are saved by a video. The old VHS tape saved them. It's Uncle Howdy who says Solo uses his family as a crutch and says next time Uncle Howdy comes out, he will show up alone and challenges Solo to do the same. All right, this match is nothing to write home about. They basically just traded strikes until the end. That's it. Just, chops, kicks, punch. Anyways, any thoughts on this opening segment in this match?
I know that you said that you mentioned on the last episode that you were into seeing Tama get these singles matches, and I'm for it. I'm starting to become a big fan of his, especially after the SmackDown, and I'm sure you'll get to it later. But like some of the backstage interactions and things, but I like him. I really like him. I want to like him more. I wish he had a different finisher, and I've talked about that before. I hate that finisher. Other than that, man, it wasn't like a you must see this type of match, but
No.
I'm happy that he is getting singles matches here.
Yeah, I agree too. All right. Nick Aldis scolds Drew for the mayhem in the opening segments and tells Drew to leave, which he says he'll do. Randy Orton's asked how it feels to get in the Elimination Chamber against his friend Cody. But before he can answer, Zelina Vega and Aleister Black interrupt, who taunt Randy, saying they need the old Randy Orton. We want the old Randy Orton. Randy says, let's go one-on-one tonight. This really is just Karrion Kross and Scarlett swapped out for Zelina and Aleister.
Yeah.
Wow.
And whatever happened to Karrion Kross anyway? I think after that big fiasco, I've not read anything about him.
I believe he just won the MLW Heavyweight Championship.
Okay.
I don't know if you've heard of MLW.
Yeah, I have. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, good for him.
But I swear to God, the promos didn't. Aleister did say he wants the old Randy Orton, or he wants 2008 Randy Orton, or something like that.
Yeah,
and then you think of the whole. I want the old Stone Cold.
Yeah. Yeah, and he's like, I don't need the old Randy Orton. I can kick your ass right now. Or,
Yeah, that was good too.
Yeah.
All right. Lash Legend and Nia Jax say they are now called the Irresistible Forces, and they're coming for it all. And then they snap their fingers and leave. Wade Barrett says, there's a lot of fingers snapping going around. I'm going to start doing that to you, Joe Tess. So that'd be fucking funny if you start. Anyways.
You know what? I just want to say that I hate that they call Nia Jax an irresistible force, because I think of Andre the Giant when I hear that term. And she should in no way be compared to somebody like Andre the Giant. Anyway, continue.
All right, so Jade Cargill comes out for a promo and says she defends the title on her time. I thought Tiffy time was going to come out, but anyways. I think this was heavily edited because there seemed to be a lot of awkward cuts when I watched it. I didn't watch it live. So that's really all there was. And she makes her exit, and as she's leaving, Charlotte Flair comes out, and they have a face off and even a woo off. Woo! 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 All right. This leads us to our match. We have Charlotte Flair versus Kiana James versus Nia Jax for the Chamber Qualifier. All right, so Kiana tries to form an alliance with Nia, but Nia says nope. Headbutts and ass shots from Nia to both. Vintage Charlotte Flair, she chops the shit out of both women and then moonsaults both women. Lots of Charlotte offense, which is come to be the norm around here. Kiana does hit a Samoan drop on Nia, which looked pretty good. We get a top rope Spanish fly from Charlotte to Kiana for a 2. Kiana tries the figure for Charlotte, but Charlotte reverses it into one of her own. Nia hits the Annihilator on Kiana, but Charlotte breaks it up. Charlotte then locks in the figure 8 on Jax, but Kiana slides underneath them and rolls up Charlotte for the pin. Now, if I was making one of my bold predictions for this match, I would have not picked Kiana James to win. I would have not put money on her to win.
That was a cool ass counter, though. It was cool.
Yeah. That was a surprise. The match itself was okay, but the surprise was a really nice touch there. And, this is one of those things where I think a lot of this match is going to depend on how much you like Charlotte Flair. Because she really did. It was the Charlotte Flair show.
She ruled the roost for sure.
Yeah. Did you enjoy the show, or did you want to change the channel?
I thought it was an okay match. I just got to agree with what you say. And I'm really kind of tuned out on Nia Jax anymore. I hate watching Nia Jax at this point. Like, at one point, Not too long ago, I was rooting for her to kind of be better and be that big opposing figure, but she's just so fucking clumsy and slow and weak and God, I mean, she could be better, but I don't think she ever will be. So I was kind of tuned out on this one, Vic. I ain't gonna lie.
Rhea and Io are backstage and talk themselves up. And then Obafemi versus Kit Wilson. All right, so the match itself, I think, was less than a minute, but the stuff before that was actually pretty fun because Kit Wilson brings his poetry book, which falls out of his little strap when he comes down to the ring. Kit reads the Ode to Obafemi, which Oba likes. And Oba says he wants another one. Kit doesn't have another one prepared, but Oba insists, so Kit does. And as he finishes, Oba throws him into the ring, and Wade Barrett says, I thought the pen was mightier than the sword, and then he thought the poetry would pierce the armor of Obafemi, but he was wrong. Like I said, this is probably less than 1 minute, which is 100% fine. Kit should steamroll. Oba should steamroll Kit Wilson, but Kit's shtick is definitely getting over. What do you think of this whole Oba and Kit Wilson stuff?
I liked it. I mean, I think that, like you said, Kit Wilson is getting over a little bit, so I would kind of like to see him in a competitive match with somebody, maybe get some wins, not just get fed to Obafemi. But I did like that part where he's like, read more. He's like, I don't have any more. And then the next one he read was just talking pure shit about Obafemi. And that's why he threw him over the rope. And yeah, that was good.
All right, backstage, Nick Aldis and R-Truth are in front of the box. What's in the box?
What's in the box?
R-Truth says, that's a major award. Nick Aldis says send it back to Raw. Damian Priest shows up. R-Truth makes ball jokes that almost crack both Priest and Aldis. But he's just talking about his match for later on tonight. Anyways, any new thoughts on who's going to be in the box? Any predictions or any...
Man, I don't even know. I'm actually more excited about... This may sound crazy, but I'm more excited to find out what's in that box than I am anything else at the Elimination Chamber right now.
Who do you want it to be? Do you want it to be Jericho? Do you want it to be Danhausen? Neither?
I've heard rumors that it might be Danhausen. I don't think it would make sense if it was Jericho because...
Why was he in a box for two?
Yeah, he's been in a box for 2 or 3 weeks. But if it's Danhausen, it's like, okay, whatever. He's a joke anyway. I'm thinking it could be like maybe a statue of somebody. And then they're like, it's a statue of somebody that is either Danhausen or Jericho. Maybe it's a statue of Jericho. And they're like, what is this? And then Jericho comes out. That would make sense. But to try to make people believe that somebody has been in this box for 3 weeks without, food or water or anything like that, if it's Danhausen, yes, it makes sense. So we'll have to see.
All right. So we get a match. We got Tiffany Stratton versus Alba Fire. Chelsea accompanies Alba in a wheelchair with her foot up on a boot. And we get some arm drags and headlocks to start. Tiffy shows off athleticism, and Alba hits a really nice tornado DDT. Alba even hits a gory special. That's something you haven't seen in a while. Chelsea gets up from her chair to distract Tiffy, and Wade's like, "It's a miracle." And they trade some counters, but in the end, Tiffy hits the prettiest moonsault ever for the win. This was all right. I mean, it was good to see Alba actually get a competitive match and not just get squashed for a change. So that was nice. And I'm sure we'll get more silliness from Chelsea in the chair. So, I had fun with this one. Backstage, Cody bumps into Sami Zayn, and things get tense very quickly. Sami says Cody should be ashamed of himself because Sami helped Cody, but Cody didn't repay the favor. Instead, Cody took advantage and hit Sami with the crossroads for the win last week. That no good backstabbing Cody Rhodes. Anyways, Cody doesn't feel bad about it one bit. He says he took the advantage and won, something Sami hasn't done, and that's why he's never been world champion. Sami calls Cody the golden boy. And then Trick Williams shows up, and he says, with friends like Cody Rhodes, who needs enemies? And then it's funny because like after that, Sammy like runs up to Cody to apologize, and I'm like, how slow was Cody walking after that promo?
Yeah, really.
But I thought this was good. I thought this was really intense, and one of them is turning heel soon. Anyways,
Got to be Sami Zayn. Got to be Sami Zayn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think it's going to be Cody because there's too much riding on Cody being a babyface, being that hero character right now, that I don't think they want to lose by turning him heel. Sami, on the other hand, the fans are starting to turn on Sami, and they're starting to get tired of him. And I've been saying it for a long time, but I think it's imperative now. He has got to turn heel. It's got to happen, or he's just going to be buried.
You don't think this is the slow turn to Cody's heel turn?
I think that maybe I think that maybe long term it may be something that you look back on, but no, I don't think that this is going to be the heel turn of Cody. I don't think this is going to play in really to what will ultimately be his heel turn. No, okay. Because there's too many, kids that love Cody Rhodes and the hero Cody. Why would they do that right now? I think there's too much money riding on Cody being who he is, whereas there's like zero money riding on Sami. They need to make money off Sami. They need to turn him heel. I'll be a fan.
The crowd hasn't turned their back on Cody yet, at least, outside of like the big shows where hell, even last year's WrestleMania, they were booing Cody over a heel John Cena.
Yeah.
Anyways, then we have a match. We have Carmelo Hayes versus Damian Priest versus Trick Williams for another qualifier match. And Trick tries to form an alliance with Melo, but nope. Damian takes it to both men early with strikes, a flatliner, full Nelson slam. Melo hits the tilt-a-whirl facebuster and a springboard double DDT and frog splash on Damian for 2. Trick hits the bookend on Melo, drops Priest on the announcer's table, hits the razor's edge. Damian comes back and hits the razor's edge on Trick. Melo hits nothing but net on Damian, but Trick makes the save. Damian fights back, and I swear everyone in this match hit a variation of Trouble in Paradise. That spin kick, every single one of them did it, I think. Anyways, Damian loads up another razor's edge on Melo, but Trick hits the trick shot for the win. So far, this was the best match of the night. They kept the action hot. They acknowledged the NXT history with Trick and Melo, and those two played off it. Damian looked fantastic here. He certainly held his own here against the other two, and I think the fans are eventually going to turn Trick into a babyface because he's just so damn entertaining. It's kind of like The Rock.
Yes.
Even like LA Knight, if that's a more recent example. LA Knight was supposed to be a heel, but the fans just turned him babyface because he's just so damn entertaining.
Yeah. I think you're spot on there with that Rock comparison, and I think that Trick is even more comparable to The Rock, I think, than say an LA Knight. Whereas LA Knight's more comparable to a Steve Austin, maybe.
Yeah.
But people are behind Trick, man, and I'm behind him too. I'm a fan. I love and he was the last one to come out, and when that happened, I knew he was going to be the last one to come out because they wanted to get that crowd chant, that pop going with his music and everything, and I love that. He's got some of the greatest music right now ever.
The crowd loves singing it.
Yeah.
Well, it's easy. It's only 3 words.
Exactly.
I will say this: I'm not the biggest fan of the whole trick shot finish where he just runs up and does a knee. That doesn't really look that impactful.
Yeah. He needs something more for his size, for sure.
Yeah.
I think he needs something better for his size.
Yeah. All right. Did I get your thoughts on this? I don't recall. Did I just talk about the finish and then we just talked about Damian?
Well,
I'm sorry.
I mean, my thoughts, I echo your thoughts a bit. I think Damian done really well. I'm glad Damian didn't win because when this match was going on, I'm like, well, it's either going to be Damian or Trick to win this one. That was my assumption, and I'm glad Damian Priest didn't win, even though I think that he belongs in that upper echelon and things. Trick's just too hot to pass on right now, so Even if Trick goes on to Elimination Chamber and doesn't win, which I don't think anybody assumes he will, him just being there is good enough, getting that push. So I'm glad that he won, and yeah, best match of the night.
All right, moving right along. Backstage, there are several tag teams. In fact, most of the SmackDown tag team division is hanging out by the box. Candice LeRae shows up with Nick Aldis and wants him to help Johnny, who we see is now laying on top of the box. Jordan Grace shows up and gets into an argument with Candice, and a match is made between them for next week. And then then Nick sends the box back to Raw, and is Johnny going with it? Who knows?
Probably. That would be funny if it did.
I love that kind of continuity. Anyways, backstage, we get Jade Cargill bumping into B-Fab and Michin, who are back and both want a piece of Jade. And then Julia versus Rhea Ripley. Now, I don't know if you remember, originally Io Sky was booked for this match. And I don't know what happened, and as far as I know, no reason is given. A shoving match starts this match, and Julia brings the intensity with the guillotine choke. Rhea brings the power with the delayed suplex. Rhea shows some speed with a sliding shoulder tackle in the corner, goes for another one and misses and hits the post. I swear Rhea does this every match, similar to what Road Warrior Hawk would do. If you're watching a Road Warrior Hawk match, guess what? He's going to run shoulder first into the turnbuckle, guaranteed. Yeah. Tell me I'm wrong. Tell me when I tell a lie.
I cannot tell you that you're wrong.
Anyways. All right. So Rhea counters an arrivederci knee to a kick of her own. They slug it out. Rhea hits the electric chair face drop or whatever it's called. They need to give that a name. Julia hits the arrivederci knee successfully, goes for the Northern Lights bomb, but Rhea counters and loads up the Riptide. But here's Nia Jax and Lash Legend, or shall I say the Irresistible Forces, interfere for the DQ. Post-match, here comes Io Sky for the save. Match is all right. These two worked pretty well together. I think this was the best possible finish, as Rhea's in the chamber match and Julia is the U.S. champion, so neither took a loss here to make themselves look weak. So your girl's in this match, so tell me about it, man. Let's talk about it.
Well, I'm glad that this ended the way it did, because I don't think that Julia should have lost, but also it's Rhea Ripley. You know what I mean? But, both of them did great. Julia did great. I love Julia. What's not to love about Julia? Look at her. Just look at her. But no, it was a good match. I really liked this match. And I'm glad that both were protected from either one taking the pin here. So,
I like the intensity she brings. Almost like a female Ilya Dragunov.
You know what? I was watching this match. You know who, for some reason, she makes me think of, and you will never guess in a million years.
Give me a hint.
Power Rangers.
That doesn't help, sorry.
She reminds me of Rita Repulsa.
Oh.
I don't know why. I don't know why. It's like if Rita was like younger and more agile, and I don't know, it just giving me those vibes. I love Julia though.
All right. So Oba Femi bumps into The Miz backstage. The Miz has now dubbed himself the locker room leader, and says since John Cena's retired, he's the locker room leader, and he pushes his 3 core values on Oba. Oba says, "Yeah, show me the ropes next week," and then goes off to talk to Nick Aldis. And then the Miz's smile slowly fades when he realizes that they're going to have a match next week. Funny stuff. I thought that was cool. That was fun.
Yeah.
That was ha.
I liked it.
Yeah, good. Charlotte and Alexa Bliss backstage. Charlotte says her best friend is in the chamber, but she is not. But everything's all right. But it doesn't sound that way at all. Kiana and Julia come out to taunt, and Julia has to be held back by Kiana. Good stuff. Solo tells Tama they can't get the lantern back and leaves. When I say they, I mean the Wyatt Six. And Shinsuke Nakamura shows up and tells Tama, who's now by himself, that he will always be in Solo's shadow, and tells him to leave the family tree in the forest and face him next week. That was a great line. And these two, this was good stuff from those two. And I know we talked about this earlier, and I think you had some thoughts. So let me hear it.
Did I? Oh, yes, I did. Yeah, this was good, swish. Man. He just, Tama just had aura here. And it was like, when Solo was talking to him, he didn't seem like a follower, really. He did seem like sort of a lone wolf type thing. Like he was just like, I don't know, man, just to watch that promo, that interaction, he seemed like he was just sort of starting to become his own type of person. I don't think that's going to happen. I don't think they're going to break him off of the MFT. I don't think they're going to break up the MFT anytime soon. But we are getting more matches with Tama. We've got Shinsuke here. I think they had some, maybe they had some kind of interaction in Japan or something. I'm not sure. They've got some sort of ties because I believe Tama was speaking Japanese a little bit here with Shinsuke, which was kind of cool.
Pretty sure there is some history.
Yeah, so he's coming into his own, and I guess that's what I was getting to, with the promo and everything. You can kind of tell by watching it, he's coming into his own here. So I'm excited about that. I think he's a good prospect for a big main eventer in the future.
Okay. We have our main event. We got Randy Orton versus Aleister Black with Zelina Vega. Actually, is she just Zelina now? I don't remember.
I'm not sure.
Really cool start to this match. They start trading reversals and counters, and then Randy goes for his Viper coiled on the floor pose, where at the same time Aleister falls into the cross-legged pose that he does too. They both landed on the floor at the same time. Good stuff. Cool. They fight outside. Randy delivers his usual 2 back suplexes on the announcer's table. Aleister fights back with several kicks and a big running knee. Randy fights back with vintage Randy Orton. That's what I wrote down. Randy fights back with vintage Randy Orton. Aleister avoids an RKO and hits more kicks. Aleister takes another table bump and then takes the draping DDT from the table to the floor, which looked vicious. Nasty looking. Drew McIntyre interferes and hits Randy with the belt. Cody comes out and chases Drew away. And Black Mass connects, and Aleister Black wins the match. Overall, a run-of-the-mill Randy Orton match, but very surprised that Aleister won. And because he's been pretty much on a losing streak ever since he came back to WWE. He had that never-ending feud with Damian Priest where I think he lost every time. And, this was the second biggest surprise of the night after Kiana James winning her match.
Yeah.
What'd you think of this one? This is our main event of SmackDown.
Yeah, for sure. Like, I'm in the same boat. Like, I'm glad Aleister won. And the thing is, where Aleister is a heel, the interference, that led to helping him win this match doesn't necessarily matter because he's a heel. It's still a win. You know what I'm saying? Like, even if there was interference, he still picked up a win over Randy Orton. Probably couldn't say the same if he was a babyface, but where he's a heel, it works. So, both are still protected. Randy, there was outside interference causing him to lose. He doesn't really lose anything by losing the match to Aleister, but Aleister gains by winning on him. So I liked it, and I thought that was a good way to end it, and it was surprising, and I'm glad it was surprising. Good shit, pal.
Good shit, pal. Well, that concludes the SmackDown review. Wouldst thou like to jump straight into Raw?
We could jump straight into Raw. My glass is a little bit empty, though. If we can just take a slick pause for the cause and be right back in a few moments. And we'll get on to the Raw. Be right back. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're back. Time to talk about some Monday Night Raw. February the 23rd, 2026, State Farm Arena in Atlanta, Georgia. And this is the night that we are going to be paying tribute to AJ Styles. Show starts out with Michael Cole and Corey Graves in the ring, and they are interrupted by Gunther, who orders them to get out of his ring. He does his usual shtick, talking about ending Goldberg, Cena, Styles' careers. Pierce comes out and has security in tow to escort Gunther out of the building, but Gunther ends up leaving on his own accord. When he gets to the top of the ramp, Dragon Lee jumps Gunther, and the fight continues into the back as security attempts to break it up. Cody walks up, stares at Gunther, then heads to the ring. So, Gunther, obviously, he's going to come out sometime during this show. Big tribute to AJ Styles. I just want to say, I'm glad that they went ahead and did this right off the bat. They got him out there first thing. That way they can get him there and get him gone. And got him out of there by getting his ass kicked, which was funny. He looked, after Dragon Lee got done with him, which is kind of crazy to say because Dragon Lee's like, 4'0", but whipped Gunther's ass and then they sent him packing. So good way to start the show, but it's not the end of it because Cody, like I said, Cody heads out to the ring. Cody barely gets to 2 sentences out before the Vision come out and interrupt him. The crowd won't let Heyman speak, so Theory grabs the mic and says he's ashamed to be from Atlanta. Logan Paul gets the mic and talks about how Bronson Reed is going to win his qualifying match, then the Chamber, and ultimately the WWE title at Mania, and then the Vision is going to take over SmackDown too. And the first thing they're going to do is send Cody out the door. Cody says there's someone who would disagree with that, and Jey Uso's music hits, with him and Jimmy heading to the ring through the crowd. So, this opening to Raw, Slick Vic thought it was okay. Got the crowd hyped. Like I said, it got Gunther out of there quick, which I think needed to happen. What are your thoughts on this?
It was all right. It was, Gunther didn't really say much for me to comment on. He just got kicked out by Cole. He comes out, he kicks out Cole and Graves, like you said, and then Pierce comes and kicks him out. Cody Rhodes comes out. Before he says anything, the Vision interrupts him. So it's just, there really isn't much to say. I mean, Heyman's great. Austin Theory hating on his own hometown was lame. He didn't really deliver with much gusto, so to speak. He's like, I hate being from Atlanta.
Yeah,
and that was it. And then Logan Paul does Logan Paul's all right. And then Jey Uso.
From that, we go to a match. This is a men's Elimination Chamber qualifier match between Bronson Reed, Jey Uso, and the original El Grande Americano. This match is for the last spot in the men's Elimination Chamber match. So Uso and Americano try to team up on Reed, but end up eating a double clothesline. Uso hits a kick to knock Reed outside, and the two start fighting outside of the ring. Americano hits a moonsault off the top turnbuckle onto both Uso and Reed, and everyone is down. Uso and Americano team up. I keep putting Uso. That's just how I did my notes. I probably should say Jay. And Americano team up again and send Reed into the post, and the rest of us into a commercial break. When we come back, Americano and Jay are fighting in the ring while Reed has been disposed of, but comes crawling back into the ring to deliver a double-stacked Samoan drop to both opponents. Reed lays the offense to Jay while keeping Americano out of the ring for several minutes. Americano gets back in the fight, hitting a simultaneous bulldog to Reed and leg drop to Jay. That was cool. Americano hits, and this was really cool, Americano hits a delayed German suplex on Reed. Incredible feat of strength. And we go into a second commercial break for this match. When we come back, Reed has apparently injured his arm, breaking up a pin Americano had on Jay, and is being checked on while Jay and Americano continue the fight. After some back and forth, Jay hits a spear, followed by an Uso splash on Americano to pick up the win. So, Slick Vic, decent match. The injury to, at this point anyway, the injury to Bronson Reed, I wasn't sure about. If that was just a way to get him out of the match so that Jay could pick up this win and or Americano could pick up the win. I didn't really know what was going on there, whether it was real or not. I still don't know whether it's real or not. We get some more information a little bit later on. What were your thoughts on this match, Vic?
All right, I got one line here. Other than that German suplex from Americano to Bronson and the double Samoan drop, boring.
All right.
That's all.
All right. Moving on. CM Punk shows up. He's being driven in a NASCAR by Tyler Reddick. So all you NASCAR fans out there probably got a pop out of that. I didn't know who the hell this guy was. That's just me.
I didn't either. And he's not the only celebrity on this show I've never heard of.
Yeah, for real. In-ring segment, we have Liv Morgan and Dom Mysterio. They come out, and it looks like we're getting an answer on Liv's WrestleMania opponent. Dom introduces Women's World Champion Stephanie Vaquer and WWE Women's Champion Jade Cargill. Gotta be honest here, Vic. Liv does not, in this instance, Liv did not look like she belonged in the ring with these two gals. I don't know if you felt the same. It was a big mismatch. Jade looks like a champion. Stephanie looks like a champion. Liv looks like they pulled her off a street corner somewhere.
She just looked like she was hiding behind Dom the whole time, and then hits that sucker punch on Stephanie.
Yeah.
Nah, I didn't like the segment. I didn't like the segment. I'm sorry if I cut you off, but
no, it was. I agree.
Did not like.
So the segment goes. Liv acts as if she's going to pick Jade for a moment. But then she turns and beams Vaquer in the face with the microphone before delivering a beatdown and holding up the women's world title. So we have our choice. She picks Stephanie Vaquer to face at WrestleMania. My thoughts. Was this a surprise at all? Liv tries to swerve us there at the end with the promo, but they've done nothing but build a feud between Liv and Stephanie the past several weeks. While the only interaction with Jade was one appearance on SmackDown, and they didn't even have really an interaction at all. If I'm not mistaken, that's where she came out and ate the chicken nuggets with Dom. There was no interaction with Jade. It's been nothing but, back and forth with Stephanie. I mean, you said it way back whenever Stephanie slapped Dom. You were like, that's who she's picking. And I was like, I don't know. Well, we'll see what happens. But this is before she went to SmackDown or anything. And they didn't do anything after that to try to build suspense that she might pick Jade. There was never any question that who she was going to pick by this point. So I guess Jade got an easy payday. Coming to Raw, walking out for nothing. Let's see. From that, we have another backstage segment where Javon Evans challenges the New Day. And your thoughts, Vic?
Who is Offset?
Offset?
You were asking me my thoughts on the Javon Evans backstage promo with the New Day?
Yeah.
There was I believe he's a rapper.
I don't know his name. I have no idea.
I was gonna say, I'd never heard of the NASCAR driver, and I don't know who this rapper is.
Yeah,
Offset.
Oh, Offset is his name. Okay, I get you. I thought you were asking me something to swerve me there, Vic.
No,
but that's
his name.
You gave me your thoughts on the women's title choice picture, but yeah, Offset. Okay, well, I'm glad you noted it because I have no idea.
I'm like, who's Offset? But other than that, Woods is dramatic and funny. That's about it. Not really looking forward to this match, but whatever.
Didn't do it for you. I get it. All right, up next we have a match. Maxine Dupree versus Natty. All right. The match goes to the outside in no time and is stopped due to Natty beating the shit out of Maxine. So, due to ref stoppage, I guess Maxine Dupree wins. We go from that to a backstage segment. Judgment Day, Balor and JD. It's a Judgment Day segment. Balor and JD make up. Dom says he doesn't want to go it alone and wants them there for him next week for his IC title defense against Penta. Balor tells him he needs to take responsibility and grow up. From that, we have another segment. This time out in the ring, Brock Lesnar and Paul Heyman head down to the ring. They basically issue an open challenge to anyone who is man enough to step up to Lesnar at WrestleMania. So, Slick Vic, I'd like to get your thoughts on the Maxine match and those couple of backstage segments, and who do you think is going to challenge Lesnar at WrestleMania?
Well, Maxine hits a nice spinning heel kick, but I was surprised they just went for the 1 minute. It was what, a minute and a half before and then the referee stoppage. I don't know. I don't hate Natty, but I'm kind of like I don't know if I care.
I love Natty, and I love this new gimmick that she has, and I've said before it's way overdue. But I really think they're building to a match between Maxine and Natty at Mania, where Maxine's going to beat her, and it's going to mean nothing. Like, I don't know, it's going to kill the whole thing for me.
The Judgment Day promo. All I have is I'm still hoping that once all this CM Punk stuff and maybe post WrestleMania, Finn will turn babyface.
Yeah,
we can get Demon Balor back.
That would be preferred. So, Lesnar at Mania.
Man, I mean, the right choice, I think, is Obafemi.
Yes.
I'm hearing whispers of maybe it'll be LA Knight. So
I want Knight to win the chamber match. I think it definitely needs to be Obafemi for it to be any interest whatsoever. I don't know if people are interested in seeing LA Knight versus Lesnar. Because I think in that situation, Lesnar's going to crush him. And it's just going to be it's going to be a nothing thing.
It's going to be that Dean Ambrose match all over again.
Oh, man. I don't know if things could get that bad. Anyway, up next we have a match. This is Javon Evans versus Kofi Kingston. So, Vic, I mainly just have thoughts about this. The coolest thing about this match is it's like watching the past and present of the same character fight each other. You can tell Javon was highly influenced by Kofi's style, and I'm not sure why this connection was never mentioned at all by the announcers, why it was never... This could have been a huge match. And that was my thing watching this. It wasn't a bad match either. It was a pretty good match, actually. But this could have been a money match to pair these two together because they're so similar, and it's so much like past and present facing off. At the end of the match, Javon hit an OG cutter on Kofi and picked up the win. So, I mean, if I was Javon, I imagine Javon thought the world of that match and thought the world of that win, but that was just me watching it. Any thoughts on that match, Vic?
Javon is bouncy. That spinning kick he did to a grounded Kofi was really nice. Yeah. That moonsault, impressive hang time. Who's Offset? And why is he in this match? I don't care.
I have no idea. Yes. I kept thinking that is going to be their WrestleMania guy. That he's going to be there at WrestleMania and nobody is going to give a shit. Like, this is not a Jelly Roll situation. This is more of, I don't know who to even compare him to.
Travis Scott?
Yeah, this is definitely more of a Travis Scott situation here.
You know, I noticed you mentioned being a big Natty fan. I see you got a pink Solo cup.
I sure do. Maybe a magenta.
Okay.
It might come off as fairly pink. Maybe it is pink. It looks magenta to me here.
I'm terrible with colors, but that looks pink too.
Yeah.
That's all. Just an observation I made.
All right, cool. All right, so then we have a backstage segment, and this is one that made the rounds on the internets. Frankie Kazarian is walking down the hallway, opens up the closet door, and who pops out? Abyss. They're shown walking down the hallway. Awesome. In-ring segment next, CM Punk comes out to the ring. He says he's not here for himself. He's here to celebrate AJ Styles. Then he goes on a lengthy promo about himself being the best in the world. Thought that was pretty ironic. Then we get a backstage segment. Petey Williams, Jeremy Borash, which people, TNA fans from years ago will know, and Omos all seen together in the back. Omos was tag team champions with AJ Styles at one point. Next up, we have a match, Women's Elimination Chamber Qualifier. This is Io Sky versus Kairi Sane versus Raquel Rodriguez. So, I instantly thought this is a terrible mismatch of characters here. But they played into this mismatch very well. Kairi and Io seem to put their differences aside and try to take Raquel out. Once they get Raquel out of the ring, Io and Kairi fight for a bit. Raquel ends up coming back in and hits a stacked double fall-away slam on both Io and Kairi. In and out of a break, Io is in control, but Raquel comes back. Io and Kairi team up to take Raquel out again, ultimately sending her into the Timekeeper's area. Back in the ring, Io avoids an insane elbow from Kairi, but hits an over-the-moonsault. But Raquel revives and pulls Kairi out to break the count. Now we finally get 1v1 with Io and Raquel. Io hitting several kicks, a missile drop kick, but Kairi knocks Io off the top turnbuckle before she could follow up with the over-the-moonsault. Kairi goes for the insane elbow on Raquel, but she gets the knees up and rolls Kairi into a Tejana Bomb to win the match. So your winner and advancing to the Women's Elimination Chamber, Raquel Rodriguez. After this, we get the news that Bronson Reed suffered a bicep tear and will be out indefinitely. I note, the curse of the Vision continues. Is it not strange that all of these Vision members are getting hurt and put out of action indefinitely? If this is not a work, if he's really hurt, it's incredibly ironic. Slick Vic, your thoughts?
Well, the mini AJ Styles tributes were nice. It was great seeing some of the TNA wrestlers. Abyss showed up. That was cool, man. I hope that that whole segment went according to plan. Otherwise, that Chris Park guy is going to be losing it.
He's going to be pulling his hair out.
The CM Punk promo. I think Punk talking a bunch about Roman hurts the match that he has coming up with Balor, and makes it even more predictable. And the match, Io Sky versus Kairi Sane versus Raquel. The awkward exchange when Io and Kairi teamed up without realizing it was fun. The double fall-away slam from Big Sexy looked good. That diving tornado DDT from Io to Raquel was interesting. And overall, this was okay. I've mentioned this before. Thank the gods that this is the last triple threat match, hopefully for a while, because the burnout is real.
Yeah. Any thoughts on the Bronson Reed injury?
Man, unfortunate. It's this injury. It's like this, injury bug, whatever you want to call it, is kind of going around. Not just the Vision too, but didn't we lose somebody else recently to some injury? Or I feel like I could be wrong.
The injury list is growing, and I thought about this earlier today, actually. We need to start making a list of everybody who's injured. Because it is growing.
If you remember, right before WrestleMania 32, which was 10 years ago, that was like everyone got injured right before that show, too. We ended up having Roman Reigns versus Triple H as the main event.
Yeah.
And, Dean Ambrose versus Brock Lesnar.
What a shitty WrestleMania that was.
Shane McMahon versus Undertaker that year.
Man, they were pulling at straws.
They were. The talent was thin because of all the injuries.
It's crazy. Looks like we're getting a repeat. I really don't think that this WrestleMania is chalking up to be that great. Do you think that? Do you feel that, Vic? Like this is... I don't remember a time that I've not, which, I mean, at this juncture, it's common not to really know the full WrestleMania card. I mean, we still got Elimination Chamber to go and the build-up after that. But I'm not excited about WrestleMania this year.
As of right now, same. But here's the thing. They announced earlier that Brock Lesnar is going to be on every Raw from now until Mania. Or at least, I think from now until Mania. And same with Roman. Roman's going to be on every Raw from now until Mania. So hopefully we'll get some build-ups.
Cool. What about SmackDown? What does SmackDown get?
A box? The guy who came out of the box, maybe.
Actually, I think that box was back on Raw. I didn't note it, but the box did show back up on Raw, right?
Yeah, I didn't note it either. But
yeah, well, I remember what happened. Adam Pearce basically said, "Send it to Chicago."
Yeah, yes, you're right.
So that box is on its way to your neck of the woods, Slick Vic.
Yeah.
You should go down there and open it up and come back and report what's in the box. Spoil it. Breaking news.
Literally breaking into it.
Yeah. All right, so that's pretty much it for Raw. The last part of Raw is the big tribute to AJ Styles. And ladies and gentlemen, this was a great tribute. I'll just say before I get into it, I really, really enjoyed this. Emotions were high with this tribute. We get the expected phenomenal video package encompassing AJ's career, complete with Creed's Higher. Next, AJ Styles' music hits, and he heads out to the ring. Styles delivers an emotional speech thanking the fans. He talks about his career from TNA to Japan to WWE. He says the one thing he hasn't done is be a full-time father, having missed all kinds of stuff with his kids over the years. He gives a shout-out to his wife for holding the fort down while he has done his thing in wrestling. AJ says there's questions about why he didn't leave his gloves in the ring at the Royal Rumble. He says he didn't take them off because he wanted to leave them here in Atlanta in his home. Styles then takes his jacket and gloves off, lays them in the middle of the ring before telling the fans he loves them. Multiple superstars and staff come out on the stage to show their support for AJ Styles as the show appears to start to go off the air, but not before a familiar gong sounded a little bit like this.
Yeah.
And
thank you for listening, everybody.
Yeah. It's not the end of the show. The lights go out and come back up with The Undertaker riding down to the ring on his motorcycle. Taker enters the ring and lets Styles know that he will be inducted into the 2026 WWE Hall of Fame. Styles' family comes into the ring to celebrate with him as the show goes off the air. So, Slick Vic, how did you like the tribute to AJ Styles?
Well done. Well done. Great video package. As always, WWE is fantastic at that. It's funny when they use Creed. I was like, wait a minute. Are they trying to go back to the they're going back to the well with Creed? Because you remember that My Sacrifice video, or that was played 1,000,000 trillion times, which is still awesome, by the way. Yeah. I still play that video. I annoy the hell out of my wife with that video because she despises Creed. But
really,
yeah.
I think Creed is one of those things where it's like people like to talk shit about it, but I mean, come on, it's fucking Creed. Come on.
I'll listen to some Creed from time to time.
I like some Creed.
It's like them and Nickelback were like the two cool bands to hate on for whatever reason. Like
exactly.
The internet decided we're gonna pick on these two bands.
Yeah.
Anyways, great promo from AJ. And when the Undertaker came out, that surprised me because they had that the copyright that makes you think, okay, they're going to go off the air in a few seconds. But then when they took it away, there was like this good solid, I want to say 5 or 6 seconds of just nothing. You just see AJ pacing around the ring. I'm like, is something going to happen? Is Gunther coming out? Or we hear the gong. And then when Undertaker started talking, he's like, you and I have unfinished business. I was like, no way. They actually gonna have a match?
Yeah. He's like, you're just gonna leave all your shit here in the middle of the ring? We got unfinished business.
Yeah. If you see me coming, then you're going.
Yeah.
It's like Undertaker's gonna be the new guy that says, you're going into the Hall of Fame. Congratulations.
Yeah.
Because I remember he did that for Stephanie.
Yep.
So here's the thing is, two things. Who inducts AJ Styles? And is John Cena going to go into the Hall of Fame this year too?
I thought about that, and I don't think so. I think AJ is going to be the headliner this year. I think that AJ just about has to be the headliner this year. We're so close to Mania. I don't think that they would reveal Cena going in because Cena is obviously a headliner. So maybe next year for Cena.
I'm surprised. I thought Cena would have been like a first ballot Hall of Famer.
You would think so, but now that AJ's in it, and I mean, I've even seen some people assuming, which is stupid, I think, but people are like, oh, they're putting him in the Hall of Fame so he can't run off to AEW. AJ Styles was never going to AEW. He wasn't going. No, it's not going to happen. But Cena, yeah. I don't think that they are going to put, because, you always have the Hall of Fame where you have one headliner who's the clear headliner, and then all of the inductees who are like the other Hall of Fame people. So I don't think that they would put them two in the same class, just because I think AJ is a headliner unto himself, and so is John Cena. So
right. Who inducts AJ Styles into the WWE Hall of Fame?
Man, that's a good question. I think you would have to look at maybe somebody that he's had some really memorable feuds with, and not even in WWE, but maybe from his days in TNA. Maybe Shinsuke from his days in Japan. I think they would probably want somebody a little more literate when it comes to English. No offense to Shinsuke, but maybe the Good Brothers induct him. I don't know. There's options. There's all kinds of options.
The Good Brothers is my pick because I think Samoa Joe would have been an excellent choice.
Yes,
because they had a lengthy feud, but Samoa Joe's in
AEW. What about Kurt Angle?
That's a possibility.
Yeah.
I'm leaning more towards the Good Brothers because of their personal relationship.
Yeah.
So that's my thought on who's going to induct them. It's going to be both Gallows and Anderson.
Yeah, that would make sense. There's definitely options. He's got plenty of options. So, it'll be interesting to see who he picks. Maybe The Undertaker. Nah, probably not The Undertaker, but, Okay, maybe Gunther inducts him in the Hall of Fame. That'd be good. I'd like to see that. But that's Monday Night Raw, everybody. Up next, we have the Retro Review, Elimination Chamber Origins. Slick Vic, are you ready to jump right into that?
Let's do this.
All right, Elimination Chamber. So we're winging this, ladies and gentlemen. We got our info, but we're kind of winging this. And as I said earlier, traditionally with our retro reviews, we review an entire pay-per-view, and we kind of do the same format as we do for pay-per-views today. It's not really that different from one to the next, but this one is a little bit different because Vic and I decided that, let's review the first Elimination Chamber match. Okay, that's good. But I think we need a little bit more to it, so we need some more information. So we're calling this Elimination Chamber Origins. We're going to talk a little bit about the chamber, the lead up to the first match, and then we're going to review that first match. So, Slick Vic, let's talk about the lead up to this thing now. This goes back to the year 2002, and Eric Bischoff had been brought back as the general manager of Raw, which was big fucking news because WWF had bought WCW. Vince McMahon bought his competition, and then all of a sudden he brings back Eric Bischoff, the guy who was literally trying to put him out of business for years and almost succeeded for a while, as the general manager of Raw. And in my personal opinion, was a great, great choice. I think Eric Bischoff was great as general manager of Raw. But the lead up to the first chamber, so that year at No Mercy, Triple H went on to defeat Kane in a title unification match. This was a big deal because Kane was the Intercontinental Champion. They unified that title with the World Heavyweight Championship. Again, there were two separate championships just like there is today. There was the WWE title, the World Heavyweight title. they unified the Intercontinental title with the World Heavyweight, which, I'm sure seems completely crazy to people today, but back then, I don't know, maybe it was just something they were trying. On the October 21st episode of Raw General Manager Eric Bischoff announced that the first ever Elimination Chamber match would take place at Survivor Series. Bischoff did this because he wanted the Elimination Chamber match to be better than SmackDown's Hell in a Cell match at No Mercy of that same year. So, again, this is when the brand split started as well. So they're competing with each other. And Bischoff comes up with this Elimination Chamber idea, at least that was the storyline behind it, to kind of compete with the Hell in the Cell that SmackDown had prior to. On the October 28th episode of Raw, Bischoff stated that the Elimination Chamber would be a combination of WWE's Royal Rumble, the Survivor Series match, and WCW's War Games match, in that a countdown timer comes from the Royal Rumble and War Games, the enclosed cage format from War Games, and the elimination process from the Royal Rumble and Survivor Series matches. Bischoff also added that the match will involve 6 superstars. Bischoff later would reveal the 6 participants for the contest: Triple H, the World Heavyweight Champion, Chris Jericho, Booker T, Rob Van Dam, Kane, and Shawn Michaels. So, the match is set to take place at Survivor Series, and to talk a little bit about Survivor Series, it was the 16th annual Survivor Series pay-per-view. Let's see, it was actually a joint produced pay-per-view, so back then, again, the brand split was going on, so there were some pay-per-views would become exclusive to SmackDown, some were exclusive to Raw. This was all-inclusive. So, and you can kind of think of it like the Big Four from way back in the day: the Rumble, Survivor Series, SummerSlam, WrestleMania. Those were all, involved SmackDown and Raw. The event took place on November 17th, 2002 from Madison Square Garden in New York City. Some more information, I don't know is that important, but it's kind of cool. The official theme song was Always by Saliva, who also performed the song and Chris Jericho's entrance music live from, it says the World here, but I think it was just WWE New York is where they performed it live from. This was the first Survivor Series held under the WWE name after the promotion was renamed from WWF to WWE in May, and also the first Survivor Series held under the first brand split, which I've already talked about a little bit. The 2002 Survivor Series was also the second of only 2 times that a Survivor Series match, a traditional Survivor Series match, did not occur at the event. The first was in 1998. So, even though we don't have a traditional Survivor Series match for this event, in place of it, we get, of course, the Elimination Chamber, which is an elimination-style match, in addition to an elimination tables match and a triple threat elimination tag team match at the event. So it wasn't without its traditional tropes, I guess, but the normal Survivor Series match was nowhere to be found. So Slick Vic, that was all the information I have leading up to the match. Let's talk a little bit about the construction here, because I remember, I don't know if you remember, this kind of lives rent-free in my head, seeing those promos with Eric Bischoff where he's like, 10 tons of steel, 2 miles of chain, all that. Like, I still remember that to this day. So let's talk about...
You just jarred my memory. I'm like, oh yeah, I remember that.
Talk a little bit about the construction. This is legit stuff here, folks. The structure, the Elimination Chamber, was massive, okay? It was made of black painted steel with an outer structure of 16 frames, each weighing 300 pounds. Chamber is 16 feet high, 36 feet in diameter, and weighs a total of 16 short tons. Short tons, I think, was 5,400 pounds or something like that. 10 of which consists of steel. Each inner chamber consists of 3 large steel frame sheets of plexiglass, each of which costs $225 per sheet. The chains that surround the chamber stretch 2 miles long and weigh 6 short tons. No, 6 short tons is 5,400 kg. I'm sorry, I got that information wrong a minute ago. So 16 short tons and then 6 short tons. So anyway, this thing is massive and it weighs a lot. A 50-foot flatbed truck was needed to transport the chamber. Assembly in the arena takes 8 hours to complete, and 8 motors are used to suspend the structure over the ring before each event. When not in use, the structure is stored at a dock in Newark, New Jersey. Unlike standard steel cage matches and Hell in a Cell matches, Elimination Chamber matches cannot be held at several arenas due to the structure's massive size and weight, similar to how War Games matches could only be held at certain arenas. This would play a factor in WWE dropping the annual Elimination Chamber event, of course until 2017 when they redesigned the chamber. The Elimination Chamber event returned. 2017's event was SmackDown exclusive, while 2018's was Raw exclusive, apparently, in respect to the Elimination Chamber event itself. In addition, the chamber structure was redesigned, becoming square instead of circular. The pods were also changed from circular to square and feature sliding doors that referees slide open from the outside of the chamber. So, the chamber, basically, that anybody knows within the past 10 years, the way that it looks, it's been the same. That's the redesign. And in my personal opinion, it sucks compared to the original one. The original one was much better. But obviously, they did it so that they could actually have the event at different places. The steel grates between the ring and the cage were also replaced with padding. Lame. LED lights also line the corners of the structure. The redesign was for practical purposes due to certain venues only being able to house the previous structure, allowing most venues to host the chamber. Alright, so there's some background information, ladies and gentlemen. And again, I mean, if you look at the chamber now, it's not nearly as impressive or threatening or ominous or dangerous looking as those first few Elimination Chamber matches where they had the steel grating on the outside. It was just like a frame. You could tell like people were going to get messed up in this thing. Now it looks like, I don't know, a child's playground or something. I'm not a big fan of the redesign, but I digress. Slick Vic, let's talk a little bit about the first Elimination Chamber match. So, again, this took place in 2002 at the Survivor Series event. This was a Raw exclusive match, and they were trying to basically do better than the Hell in a Cell match that SmackDown had at No Mercy, which they absolutely did. This was by far one of the most impressive things ever to see up to this point. And again, there's 6 people who are in this match. 4 are stuck in pods to start. The first 2 members of this match were Triple H and RVD. This match was for the World Heavyweight Championship. And basically, RVD busts Triple H open pretty quick by running him off the ropes into the chain link walls, which I thought was a really cool spot. He was, running him, whipping him off the ropes, but outside the ring. So he was whipping him off the ropes and ricocheting him into the chain link walls, which is really cool visual and really interesting. And by the way, RVD by far made the most of this match in coming up with just creative ways to get offense in this thing. This was just one of them. RVD followed this by getting on top of Chris Jericho's pod, and it broke. I don't know if that was supposed to happen, but it broke with his weight, and Jericho was like trying to pull him through it. But so far, this was as far as it got before we move on to the next entrance. Slick Vic, what do you have there for our first bit of this action-packed action?
Well, right away, the first thing I miss Rob Van Dam. I miss RVD. By the way, I've got so many initials for the wrestlers here. There's, HHH, RVD, Y2J, HBK.
Yeah, I did HBK, I did Michaels, I did Shawn, I did Triple H, Trips, H, RV. I tried to mix it up because I was putting the same thing too much.
So yeah, the RVD's offense was so damn unique. Those kicks he would throw, the rolling thunder, his wild selling, that 5-star frog splash, along with his laid back charisma, that man was great. He was so damn entertaining. There's this one spot in the match I really liked where he jumps from like the top rope onto the cage and he lands like he grabs onto the cage so smoothly. I think even the King calls him Spider-Man.
Yeah, like Spider-Man. Yeah.
Yeah, that was cool. It's amazing. See what I did there?
Yeah.
Anyways, did you notice the cell door lock broke when RVD was throwing Triple H into it? And
I didn't know.
Yeah, like whoops. Like even Lawler's like, well, we'll have to fix that one for next year. And then what's it called? Triple H is busted open like 2 minutes into this 40-minute match.
Yeah.
And then Jericho trying to pull RVD into his pod was freaking hilarious.
I think RVD and Booker T end up being the only ones to not get busted open this whole match. Everybody else was like instantly blading as soon as they came in. So after that, Jericho enters at number 3. So again, you got a countdown timer. There's a certain amount of time before, and then it's randomized who's going to come out. So number 3, after RVD and Triple H, was Jericho. And this entire sequence, after Jericho came out, was basically Jericho and Triple H double-teaming RVD the entire time. RVD tries to make a little bit of comeback, can't do it. Gets the shit beat out of him.
Yep. What happened? When did Jericho, or when did Triple H turn heel? Because at the start of this year, he came back into the Royal Rumble. He was a babyface. He goes into WrestleMania as the babyface, wins the world title over Jericho. When did he turn heel?
So if he won the world title over Jericho, then he won the undisputed title. And it would have had to have been sometime between then and them making one belt, because they made one belt and Brock won it, and then they did the brand split and Brock got put on SmackDown, which meant that Raw was left without a world champion, and that's why Eric Bischoff brought back the world title and gave it to Triple H. So I'd say it was after he was given the World Heavyweight Championship without having to actually fight for it. It was just like, you're the last man to actually wear this belt, so here you go. So
I seem to remember, because this is like what? This was a few months after Shawn Michaels had made his return.
Yeah.
And then I think they teased a DX reunion right before they had that match, in which case Triple H just pedigreed Shawn Michaels, and that was the end of it. So
that was probably the heel turn right there then.
Yeah,
that was probably the time, yeah.
But anyways, Triple H and Jericho team up on RVD is really all I got until Booker comes in.
Yeah, and Booker came in at number 4. Booker T comes in, he cleans the ring and gives the fans a good old spin-a-rooney in the middle. Then he starts mixing it up with RVD while the others lay on the steel grating area surrounding the ring. Triple H revives and goes after Booker T. Jericho revives and the action starts picking back up. RVD hits a 5-star frog splash from the top of a pod onto Triple H, apparently damaging his knee in the process. Booker T hits a missile dropkick from the top turnbuckle to RVD and pins him to eliminate him. So the announcers tried to play this off like RVD came off with the frog splash, he hurt himself, because it looks really stupid kind of that Booker T would just hit him with a dropkick and beat him and eliminate him. Especially after RVD had all of this impressive showing during the early parts of this match. Like, how could a drop kick beat RVD? Well, apparently it was the jump that, it messed his knee up. It hurt him, so that was supposed to be taken as more damage. But that's all I pretty much have until the next entrance. Like, Vic, you got anything for this portion?
If you remember that 5-star frog splash that RVD hit, I believe he crushed Triple H's throat, his trachea, or something during that spot. He landed awkwardly on his knee with his knee. I think his knee caught Triple H's throat. So
in like our IRL.
Yeah,
for a shoot.
Yeah. By the way, I have it written down too that 5-star he hits is super awkward, and then later on, Shawn Michaels does the diving elbow off the top of one of the pods, and it didn't look good either. I'm like, man, they must have really redesigned these pods, because now the wrestlers can jump off of them and, not look awkward, look more normal looking.
I think that now the chamber redesign is taller, and I think there's more space between, because if you watch RVD jump off of this, he sort of has to be hunched over, and RVD isn't like an overly tall guy, but when he's standing up on top of this pod, he's sort of hunched over where he can't really get much lift in his jump. He just kind of soars off of it for the frog splash. So I think they did make it a little bit taller, maybe for that type of thing.
Yeah, RVD did legitimately damage Triple H's throat in that 5-star frog splash.
Oh, wow. Okay. So after RVD gets the boot, number 5 enters, and it's Kane, the big red machine. Kane goes after Booker T and Jericho. He tosses Y2J outside the inner ring area and then through one of the plexiglass walls of the pods. So he throws him through the quote-unquote bulletproof glass of the pod. And, of course, this busts Jericho open. Booker T eats a choke slam from Kane, followed by a lion salt from Jericho, who pins and eliminates him. So, at this point, we've got 2 eliminations, RVD and Booker T. Kane continues to dominate in the ring, but is showing signs of exhaustion as Jericho drops him with a drop kick going into the last entrant. Got anything for the Kane spot, Slick Vic?
I was going to say, Kane came in like a house of fire.
Ha ha.
I'm just I'm full of puns today.
You're full of it tonight, Slick Vic.
Even throws Jericho through a pod. And the choke slam from Kane, followed by the lion salt from Jericho, eliminating Booker. Nice tandem offense there.
Yeah.
And that's not the only one, too. Yeah, and shall I talk about Shawn Michaels' pants?
All right, we'll get to...
Is your shit barometer going up there?
Go ahead and talk about his pants here, yeah. Maybe you have some insider knowledge about these pants.
I was going to be like, Shawn Michaels and his shit-colored pants come in. That's all.
I don't remember what the story was behind those pants. Do you?
No. There
was a story behind the pants, and I don't know if it was for shoot. Let me see. HBK pants at Survivor Series 2002. I'll try to find some information. So let's see what this says here. This is from whatculture.com. 10 amazing stories behind one-off WWE attires. Shawn Michaels on Brown Alert, it says. Oh, it's unanimous among wrestling fans that the mucky brown pants that the otherwise sartorially spot-on Shawn Michaels donned for Survivor Series 2002 World Heavyweight Championship victory, spoiler alert, are perhaps the worst crime ever committed against every concept of vision. The very concept of vision. Even the Heartbreak Kid himself has described it as the most embarrassing night of his career thanks to the excremental attire. So why did the showstopper don such a... In the same autobiography that he laments the leggings, Shawn explains that having recently discovered Christianity, he wanted earth-colored legs to represent his creation by God. Unfortunately, he pitched the request to WWE seamstress way too late, and on the night of the show, she only had an unfinished set of dirty brown peasant pants, emblazoned with just a single trademark heart. There you go. There's your answer. Backstage, WWE's resident Noel Coward, Stephanie McMahon, told Shawn he looked like a giant turd, while Triple H, who, as we'll get down to, wore three-quarter cycling shorts a year later. All right, so there's your answer to what was going on with HBK. But HBK entered at number 6, and back to the match. Michaels full-on goes after everyone, but ends up getting chokeslammed by Kane. Kane then dishes out chokeslams to Triple H and Jericho, but gets super kicked by HBK while seemingly lifting Trips up for the tombstone. Kane gets pedigreed by Triple H, then a lion salt from Jericho, and is pinned and eliminated. Michaels is thrown repeatedly into the chain link walls by Jericho and is busted open. So we have our third individual busted open so far. Triple H and Jericho team up on HBK for several minutes. HBK starts to mount a comeback, but gets put down by more offense from both Triple H and Jericho. After a DDT from Triple H, Jericho tries to pin Michaels, but is pulled off for some reason by Triple H. Again, this is an Elimination Chamber match. It's elimination rules. Why would you pull somebody off of an attempted pin? Apparently, they wanted to fight over who eliminated him. So, Jericho and Triple H finally throw down. If you've been following along, they've sort of been teaming up this entire match, but this was the breaking point. They finally throw down. Jericho puts Triple H in the walls of Jericho. HBK comes out of nowhere and hits a wild sweet chin music to Jericho and pins him to eliminate him. Anything so far on this, Slick Vic, before I continue on?
Well, I like when Kane, what's it called? Well, when Shawn came in, Kane chokeslammed everybody.
Yeah.
But then Kane took all 3 remaining opponents' finishers to get eliminated. That was good stuff. You know, you got to get rid of the monster. It's going to take 3 men and their best shots to get rid of them. So,
and this was a time too, and I'm a big fan of Kane. I've been vocal about it before. He's my favorite wrestler growing up. This was like peak Kane. Some people will say that like Full Mask Kane was peak Kane. I think this was peak Kane. He was as biggest he's ever been. He had the mask that was sort of cut out on the mouth. I thought that looked so badass. He was just a massive fucking brute. So
he was definitely. Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just going to say, this just emphasized, he's destroying people. It took 3 finishers to put him down and out of the match. So, yeah.
No, he looked huge. Like, Kane looked massive here. I don't know if I think my favorite version of Kane is still the late 90s version. The, with Paul Bearer.
The alternate attire, the inverted attire, Kane? Or the original attire?
The original attire.
I always think of the
one sleeve.
Yeah, I always think of the inverted attires like SmackDown Kane, where he had the. I loved that outfit, by the way, where the red and black were switched. That was really good.
Yeah. I remember seeing that like No Mercy.
Yeah.
Anyway, what's it called? When Jericho locks in the walls of Jericho on Triple H, and then Triple H starts making his way to the ropes, but Jericho pulls him away. This made me wonder, are there rope breaks in an Elimination Chamber match?
I thought the same thing. I'm like, this shouldn't be happening. It's, obviously it should be no DQ.
Yeah. But yeah, Triple H hits a nice AA spine buster.
Yep.
And then Shawn goes through the pod. I think it was the 3rd person to go through a pod at that point.
Yeah.
And he's just covered in blood. He's got the crimson mask. But yeah.
The crimson mask. It's kind of funny that Kane was in there. I did say that Booker T and RVD were the only two people to get busted open. No, Kane didn't get busted open either. At least if he did, we didn't know about it. So, from that now, Kane's out. We're down to HBK and Triple H. Both men are spent, but fighting with what they have left. HBK goes for a pedigree on Triple H outside the ring, but Triple H counters and catapults Michaels into and through the plexiglass wall of a pod. You mentioned that just a second ago, Slick Vic. Trips pulls Michaels in the ring and pins him, but HBK kicks it too. Triple H goes for a pedigree on the steel grating floor of the chamber, but HBK counters and catapults Triple H into the chain wall. HBK tosses Triple H into the ring, climbs on top of a pod, and hits a massive elbow drop on Triple H. Again, we've said this before, but Shawn Michaels has one of the best elbow drops in the business, next to, of course, the Macho Man, Randy Savage. HBK tunes up the band in the corner, but Triple H counters the kick into a pedigree. Triple H is slow to crawl over and pin Michaels, and he kicks it too. Triple H goes for a second pedigree, but HBK counters with a backdrop and follows up with a super kick to put down Triple H and become the new World Heavyweight Champion. And that's your match. I thought it was a really, really, really good match. Really exciting for its time. I'm a big fan of cage matches, I've said in the past, and this was just over the top, just crazy. I loved the build-up to it, how they never really showed you the Elimination Chamber until it was actually time for the match to happen. And I think they fully delivered here. Everybody in this match, goes without saying, Hall of Famers, every one of them. And deservedly so. And it was great. I don't know if it was the best chamber match ever. We may have to come back and look at a few others in the future. But it was the first, and it set the standard for sure. Slick Vic, your thoughts?
I agree, man. The match was good. I think this, and I have it right down too. I don't know if it's the best Elimination Chamber matches because there's a lot of them, and I've got memories of other ones too, but this one had some really good pacing. It had some good booking. As I mentioned, I like the parts where you had to have wrestlers team up to take out other opponents, like especially in the situation with Kane. It made sense. And at the time, I remember this being a really good feel-good moment for Shawn Michaels, as this was his only world title win in his second run. Yeah. So that was it didn't last long. I think it only lasted like a month. But we got to see HBK with the big gold belt.
Yeah. And this was, I did notice when rewatching this was the actual WCW World Heavyweight title. They hadn't remade the belt at this point. It still had the bend in the top of it. So this was still the one that they brought from WCW after they bought the thing.
Yeah. Yeah. Good stuff, man. Woo!
Woo! All right. And speaking of woo, Ric Flair did accompany Triple H down to the ring. He didn't do any wooing or anything crazy. I actually don't know what happened to Ric Flair after this, but he was there. All right, Slick Vic, that is our retro review, Elimination Chamber Origins. Hopefully you all enjoyed it. We still have one more segment to go, Slick Vic's picks for Elimination Chamber. I got to piss, so we're going to take a pause for the cause. Be right back. All right, friends, we are back from that brief pause for the cause. And now, our main event of the evening, Slick Vic's picks for Elimination Chamber 2026. It's happening this coming Saturday. Make sure you all tune in. But right now, we're going to tell you what Mr. Perfect believes. And it's not a prediction. It's a spoiler. What's going to happen at the Elimination Chamber this coming week. Slick Vic, you got your crystal ball handy?
I do.
It's time for Slick Vic's picks. so ladies and gentlemen, this weekend, the Elimination Chamber 2026 is apparently going to be the 16th Elimination Chamber event. So, and of course, it's taking place at the United Center in Chicago, Illinois. If you have a small bank loan and would like to go, I'm sure there are still tickets available. Slick Vic, I don't think he's going, but so we're not going to have boots on the ground, so to speak, but we're going to be watching very closely. And why are we going to be watching very closely? Other than to learn who is going on to WrestleMania to challenge for the remaining World Championships. We're going to be watching to know if Slick Vic can remain Mr. Perfect. So, without further ado, let's go over the matches. And now, these are not in any particular order. Obviously, we don't know what the order of the matches are going to be. But let's start with the women's Elimination Chamber match. Now, the winner of this match will win a WWE Championship match against Jade Cargill, unless something crazy happens and she loses it between now and then, at WrestleMania 42 in Las Vegas. You have Tiffany Stratton versus Rhea Ripley versus Alexa Bliss versus Asuka versus Kiana James versus Raquel Rodriguez.
This right here is the toughest prediction of the night. Yeah, I looked very deep into the crystal ball, and it's it's not looking good, man. It's like
Is it like looking into murky waters, kind of?
It is. He who looks into the eyes of the abyss sees nothing looking back at him. You know what I'm talking about, Rick? The abyss, the shit abyss. Sorry. Anytime I can quote Trailer Park Boys with you, I'm having a good time.
Oh yeah.
Anyways, this is how I see it. I have a very bold prediction for this match. Now, it's going to go one of two ways, but they're both very much the same outcome. You notice Charlotte Flair is not in this match. Now, Charlotte has been teasing a lot of stuff lately, like hinting at the, like breakup, whatever you want to call it. Heel turn, maybe. I think somehow she doesn't necessarily have to weasel her way into this match, but somehow she's going to get involved. And I feel like it's going to set up a triple threat match between, or say whoever wins this match and Charlotte get added to that match to face Jade Cargill. Now, I don't know, man. Does that mean Alexa Bliss wins? I don't know. I'm actually leaning towards the opposite. Well, I don't know what I'm leaning for. I think the other way is, I hope I'm not sounding too convoluted here. Raquel Rodriguez and Liv Morgan are also beefing right now too. It's not all sunshines and rainbows for the Judgment Day. And I even predicted this a couple weeks back. I'm like, let's get all three Judgment Day girls against Stephanie Vicaire at WrestleMania, because there's already a lot of infighting in the Judgment Day. Or you can just add Raquel and Liv to it. The point is, I think it's either going to be Raquel or Alexa Bliss. And I think because of their tag team partners.
Okay.
Now, I have to pick one, I guess, right?
You have to pick one. You have to pick one. I went back and forth on this. And side note, Big Kev has joined us live here on Facebook for Slick Vic's picks. He waited till the main event of the night to pop in and join us here. Thanks for joining us, Kev. But I do want to say, yes, Kev, you have to pick one, Slick Vic. I gave you a little bit of we gave you some leniency for the Rumble because that's a 30 entrant match, and I'll let you pick 3. So that's 10%. If you do the Steiner math, you deserve to pick 3 there, but I don't know about this one, man. I went back and forth. You're obviously you're able to say whatever your thoughts might be, but preferably we would like to get a clear winner here. You think it's going to come down to 2?
Yeah. It's going to be either Alexa Bliss or Raquel Rodriguez, because I think one of them is going to get in their partner's ways.
Okay, so you don't think that Kiana James, who had a great showing at the Rumble, who has sort of been on a roll, might be a shoo-in for this match?
No, I don't think she will. I think her and Julia have a thing going. I don't even think Rhea Ripley is going to win, because her and Io Sky are tag champions. Let's keep the tag team division. That goes against my rules with Alexa Bliss. Same with Asuka. I don't think Asuka benefits much from winning this. I mean, Asuka hasn't been world champion in a while.
And the jury's completely out on Tiffany Stratton here.
Yeah. I mean, do we want to see do we want to see Tiffany and Jade run it back in a WrestleMania rematch?
Well, there you go. I mean, there's a feud.
Yeah.
So,
man, I'm checking it out here. Fuck it. Let's lock in. Only because I think Charlotte's going to get involved somehow. Let's go with Alexa Bliss.
All right. So you said Alexa Bliss or Raquel, but you think Alexa for the pick. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Good deal.
I'm not quite sure how to help you with that.
Well, me either. Listen, all right, let's move on to the next match on the card here. Let's see. Let's look at the singles matches real quick here. The next women's match on the card, Becky Lynch versus AJ Lee. And, of course, this is for the WWE Women's Intercontinental Championship. Becky Lynch, the champion. AJ Lee, the challenger.
All right. Well, we're in Chicago. AJ Lee is I guess you call it an adopted resident of Chicago. Well, do you think they're going to have a rematch at WrestleMania regardless?
Could be. I think that if you're asking me, and my opinion of this, which my picks never are good, but I think that you start a riot if AJ doesn't walk out with the title here.
Yeah, I am picking AJ Lee to win this match and win the, Intercontinental title.
All right, I think that's a good pick, so we'll lock that in. AJ Lee to win the Women's Intercontinental Championship. Good pick, and I hope it happens. I think that would be awesome. All right. Next, we have the World Heavyweight Championship on the line. CM Punk, the World Heavyweight Champion, is going to take on Finn Balor for the title. Now, as you mentioned before, Slick Vic, they've really been building up this CM Punk versus Roman feud at Mania. The deck seems stacked against Finn Balor here, for sure. But I'm curious to see what you and the Crystal Ball and the Ghost of Mr. Perfect are telling us on this one.
You know what's going to happen? I would love to see multiple false finishes where it does look like Balor won, only to have like the referee just come out or another referee be like, hey, look what happened. Like they point at the Titantron and they see that Dominic Mysterio or JD McDonough interfered on behalf of Finn, so they restart the match. Like, that would be cool. They really need to do something to trick the audience, like swerve the audience. But here's the thing. Punk is winning. That's my pick. Punk is winning. Okay. But I really hope they do something to swerve the crowd big time, make it look like Punk lost.
That would be cool. I'm not sure because they're not very... That doesn't happen these days. When there's some kind of shenanigans that goes on, nobody comes out and says, hey, wait a second, look at what this happened. So I wouldn't automatically expect that to happen, but I'm with you. I think that would be great to have Finn Balor win, but not legitimately, and then something happens to restart. That would be great because the crowd in Chicago would burn the place down. The place would be on fire by the time the match restarted, and it would be awesome.
You were saying... I'm going to burn my crystal ball if I'm wrong.
All right, so last but definitely not least here, we have the Men's Elimination Chamber match. And the contestants for the Men's Elimination Chamber, we've set through triple threat after triple threat to get to this point. We have Randy Orton versus LA Knight versus Cody Rhodes versus Javon Evans versus Trick Williams versus Jey Uso. And, of course, the winner goes on to WrestleMania to challenge Drew McIntyre for the undisputed WWE Championship.
Cody Rhodes, lock it in.
That's the quickest pick you've made all night. You say Cody Rhodes.
Yeah. Well, I would have said CM Punk faster, but I had some gaga to go with that. Some ha-ha and bullshit.
I really hope that you're wrong here. I do not want to see Cody Rhodes win this match. I want to see LA Knight win this match, and I honestly think that in terms of fan response, I think that the fans would rather see LA Knight win this match. I mean, Randy Orton would be a good one too to win. I don't think the fans are going to like Cody Rhodes winning, even though he's been the one who's been tied up in this feud with Drew McIntyre this whole time. They keep going back to it. We even said on a previous episode, I don't know why Drew McIntyre continues to get involved. He won the title. He's scot-free. Go on, do your own thing. But he keeps getting involved with Cody for a reason. So I think I feel you on that. But I want to see LA Knight win.
I would not be upset if that happens.
If I have a pick, then LA Knight gets my pick. Yeah! So, but you're locking in Cody Rhodes. I mean, that was a quick pick there. Slick Vic. And that brings us to a close on Slick Vic's picks for Elimination Chamber. Again, ladies and gentlemen, it's taking place this Saturday, February the 28th of the year of our Lord 2026. And if you're not too busy playing Resident Evil 9 like Vic and I will probably be, make sure you check it out, because next week's episode 30, obviously we're going to be having the review of the Elimination Chamber right here. We're going to be having the results of Slick Vic's picks right here. The Mosley Gigawatt scale is going to return. I'm going to have to rate these matches. It's going to be a good time. But with that said, Slick Vic, now we can actually hit the end of show gong. And ladies and gentlemen, Slick Vic pointed this out last week whenever we went off the air. I did not wish everybody to stay powerful. Out of 28 episodes, I missed one time wishing everybody to stay powerful. So, in closing, follow us on Facebook if you're not already. Facebook.com/WrestlingWithPower. Over on our YouTube page, YouTube.com/@WrestlingWithPower. Spotify, search up the Wrestling with Power, where you can see all our episodes going back to the very first. Again, thanks to Kevin for joining. Thanks to Chris for joining and popping in and giving us some thoughts and insight and just joining us here and giving us a little company. Very much appreciated. And I'm going to let Vic close us out. But before we do, I'm going to make sure that I wish everybody to stay powerful.
And I want to thank everyone for tuning in, following us, listening to us. Big shout out to Big Kev and Chris. So yeah, and everyone else can I wish them all the best in their future endeavors.
I thought you were going to say everybody else can go straight to hell.
You're gonna go hell in a cell.
Damn. All right, we'll see you next time, everybody.